Tonight, responding to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, involving more than 100,000 Russian troops, NATO is set to put a force of 300,000 on high alert. An unprecedented escalation, 7 times the current number. As a Roman general once said, if you want peace, prepare for war.
This constitutes the biggest overhaul of our collective defense and deterrence since the Cold War.
But the West's response to Ukraine has Russia reacting, a kind of geopolitical tit for tat. NATO member Lithuania now openly threatened by the Kremlin for enforcing sanctions on supplies to a Russian enclave, Kaliningrad.
Is your view that the best form of defense is offense?
We are not an offensive country. We don't want to attack anybody. But of course, we understand very much those threats which are coming. And probably nobody could understand the threats from Russia better than we.
Is this a fight for democracy?
It is the fight for democracy, and this is not the fight what is happening now in Ukraine. This is not the fight of one country against other country. We have to stop Vladimir Putin and Russia in Ukraine. Otherwise, there will be continuation of this aggression.
The US has a lot invested in this tense standoff. 100,000 American troops are stationed in Europe, preparing for a shift in posture. This week, leaders, including President Biden, meeting in the Spanish capital, will update NATO's strategy. Called the strategic concept, the last one described Russia as a potential partner. This time it will say explicitly, Russia is a threat. An unmistakable message from here in Madrid to Moscow. Moscow claims it's not surprised.
This month, NATO will meet in Madrid and it will publish its new strategic concept.
Yes.
The first in a decade.
Naming Russia a direct threat.
This was the Kremlin spokesman speaking to me last week, repeating Russia's accusation that NATO has always been an offensive, not defensive organization.
It was tailored as a gun.
It's a message the Kremlin is telling the Russian people every day. This government-funded Moscow exhibition is called NATO Catalogue of Cruelty.
NATO, from the day of its formation to present day, constantly shows kind of duplicity, like kind of kind of major difference between its peaceful rhetoric and actual policy.
Every NATO controversy is on display. President Putin's early interest in Russia joining NATO is brushed over. The exhibition ends on Ukraine.
Here we have anti-tank missile containers made in UK. For years now, NATO has been providing Ukrainian military with weapons, equipment, means of communication, and basically nurturing and pumping Ukrainian military machine.
This exhibition looks like a justification for Russia's actions in Ukraine in the past few months.
Maybe it looks like it, but what we are trying to do here, what we are trying to, I don't want to say to make people do, but what we're trying to guide people into is that people think with their own heads.
NATO and Russia sizing each other up in ways not seen for a generation. Both sides saying it has no other option.
And with that, Keir joins top story tonight from Madrid, where the president has landed today. So, Keir, some major news tonight that we mentioned earlier, the idea to expand NATO by admitting Sweden and Finland a go. What more can you tell us about that?
Hey, Tom, that's right. Well, this was billed as the most important NATO meeting for a generation, and boy, on day one, it is living up to that billing. Turkey persuaded in a bunch of deal-making to accept Sweden and Finland joining the alliance. There was a conversation between President Biden and President Erdogan of Turkey earlier this week. Maybe that played a part. Tom, you know, there will be criticism of that deal-making in the days ahead, but golly, NATO looks powerful and united tonight. It's not so long ago that President Trump described NATO as obsolete, that President Macron called NATO brain dead. No one is talking like that tonight, Tom.
Okay, but Keir, we do have to ask you, even though the members are now all agreed when it comes to expansion, there's still a number of issues that threaten the unity, though, correct?
That is so right. It's a great question. Just think about President Biden's challenges at home with his favorability ratings, with the midterms looming. Then add to that political paralysis in France. We don't know whether the Prime Minister of Britain will be the Prime Minister in the months ahead. In Germany, the Chancellor has really struggled with the Ukraine crisis. So we don't know whether the major countries of NATO will still be led by the same people in the years to come. And there are leaders here, Tom, who are quietly saying we should keep lines of communication open with Moscow. We should be careful not to encourage Moscow to escalate further, because everybody agrees, again, that what we are seeing here is a generational change. This is a change to the posture towards Russia that is likely to last years, possibly decades, many leaders here say, Tom.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.